Hi, Karen. Connecting to audio. Hi, Hope.
Yes.
I
Working?
hear somebody.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, Becca.
Hey. Hi, Karen. Hi, Hope. Hi,
Hey.
Cynthia.
Luckily, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be on here.
But you're here.
Are we the first ones?
Y'all are the first three.
Right.
I decided to go ahead and get on about 5 minutes early and give everybody a chance to work out the kinks. And
Yes.
I've got my cell phone set up right here because I figure I'm probably going to be getting 300 texts saying, help! There's Linda Haynes.
Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Hello.
Cynthia, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Awesome.
This is fantastic. I'm going to turn up my volume somehow. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, because either my volume on my computer is just really quiet. Let's see. Let's try that. Well, there's a stranger face that we haven't seen in a long time. You have to wait for it to connect to audio.
Hope.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
Good.
Still have your name tags?
Well, that's okay.
Hi, Maxine. It's always fun to watch people like get set up.
Are you off from school then for a while?
2 more weeks at least.
Okay.
And to be updated. So
Hi, Kathy.
Work Thursday.
Hi, Becky.
Hello.
Hey, Kathy. Hey, Becky.
Maxine, can you hear us?
Who?
Maxine.
Oh, Maxine.
Yep.
Hey, look what's next to me.
Uh-oh.
Aw.
Hi, Texas Pillow.
Her Texas pillow. I think Leanne did that.
Leanne did that one. Yes. Oh. And then also I have my
What does that say?
Finger Hotel from San Antonio.
Does that say Viva something?
Yeah, it says Viva Festiva.
Oh.
Finger Hotel in San Antonio. My dad
Gotcha.
had 7 different
Hi, Karen.
shirts.
Hi, Becca.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Karen. Your dad had what?
Oh, why is that doing that?
In San
He
Antonio?
had 7 different Menger Hotel shirts, and my sister had them all made into pillows.
Oh,
So,
love that. That's
So
cool.
cute.
yeah.
Hi, Jen.
I can't see everybody.
Hi. Can y'all hear me?
Put a puppy in a kennel. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you, Jennifer.
Hello.
Is this
Hi, Matt.
Julie?
I'm gonna see if I
Look
can
at
see
her
everybody.
go.
Aw.
See everybody.
Isn't she cute?
Oh.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi.
How's your daughter feeling today?
I was gonna text you. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. She doesn't have the flu or strep. They said she probably has bronchitis again, so
Okay.
they're treating it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then just she gets to stay home all week, so that's another good prayer request.
Yeah, that's
Prayer
good.
answer.
Good.
Yes.
So,
Maxine? I think Maxine's trying to figure out her iPad or phone.
I think my sister's on.
I think.
Okay, dang it. I was like, I see a name that is familiar, a face that is semi-familiar. I was like, but Angela May said that she's gonna, no, Angela Ray.
Ray.
I'm telling y'all, I have a friend I went to high school with that's Angela May. Always do that every single time. Hi, Janet.
Hi.
That's my sister.
Why do I recognize her face and her name? I thought, and Angela said, I invited a friend, so I thought that was the friend, and I was like, hold on, let me think. So y'all were talking, I was trying to think. You did-
She just told me to be still. She's like, she texted me, she said, be still. And I'm like, oh, that means she's on here.
I was on here watching you for a while.
Hi,
But she's
Linda.
the one who had the pillows made.
Hi, Linda.
Right. Okay, Maxine's back. There's Martha Day. Well, audio of Martha Day. I can't figure out who this is with the, where all we can see is the ceiling.
That's Georgianne Floyd.
Probably.
Where?
Oh,
Georgianne
there's Julie.
Floyd.
There's Julie waving.
Julia. There's Angela.
Hey, Angela. Can't get the audio. There's Maxine.
Georgianne.
Yeah, do your volume on the side.
Maxine!
Hi, Maxine.
It says waiting. I don't know what it's waiting for.
Angela, can you hear me?
I can finally. That's what I was having.
Okay. You might have been on mute.
Maxine, we
Linda.
can hear you. Hey, Linda.
I'm gonna go.
I can't hear you.
Volume up. Hold on a minute.
Wait, who said that? Hi, Kim. We can't hear you. Kim, your audio is muted.
Is there a way for us to see everybody at the same time or just you, Becca?
They're
Are you
up
the
in
only-
now this is on my deal, on my computer. I'm on a PC. I saw that, Becky.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Becky,
On top of the PC, in the top right corner, it says speaker view or gallery view. If you do the gallery view,
Yeah.
it'll show you squares of everybody.
Oh, participants. Okay, hang on.
Yeah, and then you can scroll left and right and it'll show you everybody.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, gallery view.
Hey, I'm doing a workout.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I can hear you, Kim.
there we go.
Okay, I'm doing a workout. So if I start
Linda, I
breathing,
can hear you.
I'm being
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I can hear
yeah.
everybody now. I forgot I had put earphones on.
Oh,
Hey, Kim, I have you on two different things.
Well, that's weird. Well, I was having issues getting on. I don't know what. That's weird.
Yep. Hi, Martha.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Martha.
Hey.
So,
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Lisa. Hey,
Cynthia,
Martha.
Yes.
Hey, Linda.
everybody has
Hi,
told me
Cynthia.
about you, and I don't think that we have had the pleasure of formally meeting. So, I'm Becca.
Hi, Becca. Nice to formally meet you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been ships passing, but
Yes.
here we are.
Yes.
Here we are. I'm going to give everybody just maybe a couple more minutes because I think more people will come. Julie, are you not letting us see you today?
Where's Julie? Come on, Julie. I miss you.
You don't want to see me.
Yes, I do.
Truly, I don't have any makeup either, so no fair.
It's okay.
Hey, I had my brain swamped today. Give me a break.
Brain.
Yeah, for strep and flu.
Oh, I thought you said your brain swabbed.
She did.
Was my brain? They stick it back in there.
Have you seen that test?
I don't want that one.
They pretty much take brain cells when they do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
they
COVID,
stick
yeah.
it way back in there, they said.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I now know my nose is connected to my throat.
Oh, gross.
I guess that's good.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to mute myself.
When I start the lesson part, I'll mute everybody so that y'all aren't distracted with noises and whatever. If you have to get up and move, whatever, it's fine. If you need to run to the bathroom, you can do that too. I don't care. So
Don't
Don't
take it in
take your
there.
iPad
Don't
with
take
you.
it.
I
Don't
care.
take your iPad with you.
yeah, do not take your phone or iPad with you.
Right.
Definitely mute it if you do.
Just don't.
Yeah, don't do
I
it.
want to see it or hear it.
Right.
No, we're not going there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you do not want it because you will end up starring on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mean.
I know.
Leanne will find it and send it to everybody.
That's right. That's right. It's going to be in the next newsletter.
Uh-oh.
Chip,
Didn't matter.
if we can see straight up.
Hey,
your-
ladies.
I think you've been muted.
No
This is-
boys allowed.
Yeah.
This is bad girls for a reason.
Right.
Oh,
You didn't try to.
Well, I'm getting my workout in, so if y'all hear heavy breathing,
Oh, good for you.
Glad it's
I've been
that.
on Zoom calls all day long.
You crazy girl. Leanne said she was going to jump on, but she's running late.
Martha,
Is she?
I'm here.
Wait a minute.
Becca,
Okay.
is there a way to pre-record this for people to look back on it later?
Oh, I'm
like-
recording the whole thing.
Okay, so
I'm
Sean
recording.
wants to look at it.
Zoom has an option to record the whole thing. So, yeah.
This is cool.
Okay. All right. So,
Lisa,
I hear,
I have
I
that
hear
same
Linda.
shirt. What? Lisa Howard, I have that same shirt. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, I know. I love this shirt.
Yay, we should be Twinkies.
Now I'm gonna have to
Aw.
scroll and
I
look.
like it.
y'all
Oh, that's
should know
pretty.
twins.
Kimberly, you're
Very
Aw.
pretty.
I have a pajama shirt on, and I don't care.
I have a sweatshirt on.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't
Linda,
have-
I miss your laugh.
I know. It's infectious.
I know.
Okay.
it is.
So help me here. All right. So if I say you're here, or if I miss saying that you're here, there's somebody in one screen that I can't tell who it is.
I know, on the bottom.
Well, it's in different spots on everybody's computer. So I'll do a roll call. If I don't call you, you'll know you're the one that I'm like, who is that? I can see the
Hold on. It's like the Brady Bunch, I feel like.
Yeah.
Here's a story. Sorry, I'll stop.
Okay, so I have Karen Acosta, Hope
Yep,
Miller,
I'm here.
Cynthia, Linda, Becky, Jennifer, I don't know, Janet, Julie, Angela, Maxine, you hear me? Okay, good. I was just making sure. Linda, Kim, Martha, Lisa, Karen, Unger, and Kathy. Who did I not say?
Somebody's on with their iPhone. Who is that?
Yeah.
That's Linda.
Probably me when I called in earlier. If I'm on there
No,
twice.
it's not you.
No?
No, it's under Cynthia.
Well, it's
I'm
different
not-
places on every computer.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm on my computer. I'm not on my phone.
If somebody would just switch that, whoever that person is,
Angela, is it your friend?
move over a little bit.
You probably,
Okay.
oh, as far as I know, she's not.
Everybody lean to the right and she'll come in camera.
yeah.
Lean to the right. Everyone.
And to the left. And to the right.
Hey, you don't get to tell us that when you're hiding.
I'm leaning to.
Who just logged in?
Husband.
Huh?
Who just logged in? Oh, two people just logged in.
Let's see who they are.
Or maybe one. Somebody logged in on an iPhone and I can't tell who it is. But they might just want audio.
The spy.
That's what it is.
Someone's
God.
husband.
The Holy Spirit uses an iPhone. That
It's probably one of the guys sneaking on thinking they could.
oh that's even more scandalous.
They need the Bible study too.
Yeah.
It's not about which Bad Girls is tonight, because I haven't kept up.
It's Jezebel.
Woo!
I know. The baddest of the bad. Yeah, she's the worst.
Bad one.
Yeah, she is the worst. All right. Well, it's 7:12. I think I've given everybody plenty of time. We'll let Leanne sneak in and sneak. She'll be muted. I have the power. So, okay. There's a lady walking by in the alley, and she was looking up here, like looking at me.
Invite her.
Get up here.
Come hear about Jezebel.
Yeah, come learn about hey, Jezebel. Well, I am so happy that you're all here, and it's like every day that probably we're all doing the same thing, kind of teeter-tottering between, I know God is sovereign. I'm 100% sure of that. And then an hour later, I find myself going, what's happening? And running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm fluctuating back and forth between those two things, and not spending a lot of time in the middle.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's pretty tiring. So I'm extra grateful for these times when we can kind of be still and see faces of family and sisters and believers, that a lot of people we don't ever get to see. And so this is a massive blessing. I have said thank you to God for the internet every single day. Can you imagine doing this without it? Because being on a phone call with 18 people would have been just a nightmare I don't even want to think about. So I think let's go ahead and get started. I set this for, yes, Jill Jones. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. You're here.
Jill.
We haven't even really started yet, so it's all good.
Hey, since we haven't started, I just wanted to say hi to Kathy Munger. I was so excited to see you at church yesterday.
Thank you. And my
Yay.
sister's on too. The person that says Janet Bolick, that's my sister.
Yes.
Nice. So you can-
My sister in PA was on too. That's who it was.
There was a mystery person, but we couldn't see her face. Like, it was all we could see was like a hair. And then she disappeared. So tell her to get back on.
I will. I think she's on back. I think she's the one that just says iPhone without a
maybe
picture.
so. What's her name?
Becky.
Becky. Okay, we got a Becky and another Becky. Becky,
And a
if you're on and just doing audio, welcome. We're glad you're here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started. If you have the book, wonderful. If you don't, it's okay. And if you want to take notes, you want to come back after, I'm just going to do a short Scout's honor.
Can you mute everybody, Becca?
Oh, I will.
Okay. There was just some feedback.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. So how do we do that? We mute all and okay. You're all muted now. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a short, just a short kind of summary of the chapter. If you don't have it, it's okay. You're not really gonna be, it's the story of Jezebel, which honestly I wasn't super familiar with, but boy, I am now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll pray, and then we'll do a short, just do this short thing, and then I'm gonna open it up and let you give some feedback. If you want to take some notes, great. Whatever. This family time. So let's pray. Father, thank you. Just thank you for all the terrible things that are happening around us. This is wonderful, and this is just a precious gift that you've given us. And we're all present and somewhat healthy, and we're just thankful. And God, I just ask you just to open up your word to us right now and reveal yourself to us. And help us to be careful to glorify you, not to try and insert ourselves into these stories, because this is supposed to show how you use even the worst of people, the worst of situations, to bring glory to your name, which is deserving and worthy. And God, we just love you, and we thank you for salvation and for internet and just for each family, each and every person that's represented here. And it's just so wonderful to see faces. And Lord, we love you, and we give you all the glory and all the honor and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Okay. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm super weepy these days, which I'm kind of weepy all the time, but it's like magnified right now. It's out of control. So just get ready. Just prepare yourselves. So for those of you who don't have the book, if you there at the beginning of each chapter, she tells a modern day version of the biblical story. And so and it's like in this particular case,
I can't explain it because we're muted. It just looks bad.
It'd be funny if like we're in hats.
y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Y'all can hear that?
Somebody's not muted, I guess.
Oh, it must be somebody that just joined. Hold on, let me try again.
Just say nothing. Just see how long it takes them.
Hear it?
You got away with it.
Now can you hear it? You can still hear?
Becca, I just unmuted myself. I think everybody's gonna have to mute themselves.
Okay, can everybody mute themselves?
No. How do we do this?
What are you on? Karen,
Okay.
are you on your phone? There you go.
I was on the iPad. I've got it.
You did it, yeah. Everybody except for Max. I'm gonna mute Maxine. Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Anyway, so at the beginning of every chapter, she tells a modern day version of the biblical story. This one, no exception. I don't really find that there's a whole lot in her modern day story that I was, dazzled by. I always find myself reading going, oh, so this guy is this guy, and this, trying to make the parallel connection, which, yeah. So it got to the meaty part when it got to the part actually about Jezebel, because man, this girl is bad news. She's bad news. She's bad from top to bottom. And I don't know, other than her story was put in scripture, that there's redeeming qualities there. So she she just has all sorts of problems. So I noticed from the very beginning that like I mean right off the bat, that it started pointing out how weak Ahab was. Now, if you'll remember, a few weeks ago when Jason was teaching us, when we were talking about the government, the role of the biblical role of government, he was talking about how King Ahab was the worst of all. You know, like he was horrible. Like all those kings were bad. He took it to a new level. So he was very, you know, he had all this power and all this stature and everything. But then when he went home, he didn't. So the biblical role in the marriage was flipped because she had all the control. And so they really, from inside their home, the distortion inside their home just had affected everything else. Because Jezebel led everything inside the home, then Ahab, I guess, took out that frustration on the people that he ruled over. So anyway, so I thought that Jezebel's letter back to Elijah after Elijah confronted Ahab, Jezebel's letter said, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like one of them." Man, she just bowed up and she said, "I ain't scared of you. You can't do anything to me." This girl had no fear, no shame. Her pride was just, you know, off the charts. And Liz did a really good job of breaking it down into those 5 short statements, which sort of summarize, I guess, Jezebel's story. And boy, she did a lot of damage in just 5 statements. She set up herself a, you know, just power structure really in her own mind. So she cowed her husband into submission, and it's like everything else. When you take the order that God has set up and you flip it on its head, everything else will be out of balance as well. And so to me, their marital dysfunction just affected everything else. Well, we all know when you have marital dysfunction, everything else gets out of whack as well. So anyway, so Jezebel did not even give him an opportunity when he was whining about the land and the fact that the other guy with the weird name, can't remember his name. Anyway, when he said, "No, I'm not giving you my land no matter what," instead of just trying to, you know, let's walk through it. Let's talk through how we could possibly make this work out. No. She didn't even do that. She just said, "I'll fix it." Well, okay, maybe that for that thing, there's not a fix. Maybe that's just one of those things where for us, we would say, okay, perhaps this is not God's plan. No, Jezebel didn't like that idea. So she said, forget it. I'll fix it. So she kills him or gets her way. And so essentially, and really this topic came up today. I ran to Walgreens and the cashier was saying, I just asked her how she was doing because she and the other cashier were talking about how just tired they are. And I said, well, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to work here because I know it's a risk. And she said, you know, it's okay. She ultimately landed on, I just am surprised that we've gotten to the place where houses of worship are not meeting voluntarily. And I said, well, you know, I mean, we also have a responsibility to protect the vulnerable people. And yeah, I know it's tough. I said, we're meeting virtually, blah, blah, blah. And she said, God's speaking pretty loud right now, isn't he? And I said, boy, is he ever. She said, She said, I feel like maybe he's trying to tell us something. Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. And I said, and she said, but doesn't the scripture say he won't be mocked? And I said, I can't, I mean, there's nothing else I can say to that. That's exactly what I've been thinking. I mean, how many things have we been basically throwing in his face saying, you know what, God, we'll be in control and we'll let you know when we need your help. And God is showing us he's God. And, you know, and it's very, very scary because we think we have so much control. We have we have zero control. So anyway, so there were, you know, three or four things at the end of the chapter where she's on page 187, where she kind of breaks it down in the lessons we can learn from Jezebel, which I thought were really, really good. And this one is a really important one because I think a lot of people, probably younger than us, but a lot of people want to take either their childhood experiences or maybe college experience, or this is what happened to me in my 30s. This is what happened to me in my late 20s. I don't know. And use it as a crutch to behave badly for the rest of time. And that's not scriptural. And I don't think that's the plan. I don't think God would would sentence us to eternal guilt, shame, pain, heartache, unforgiveness, bitterness, anger, any of those things, just because something bad happened to us or around us. And so your upbringing or your parents or your first marriage or a bad job experience or a sexual assault or anything like that does not have to be the path that you live on for the rest of your life. In other words, you get to give that to the Lord and tell him to turn that path his direction, so that you are in his will and not yours. Because your own will be much more difficult. Secondly, I think she pointed out, she didn't really spend a lot of time on this because I know that not every single person who's watching this is married, but it's really important to respect your godly role as a wife. And a lot of people just don't understand what that looks like. And read that story of Jezebel and do the opposite. If you don't know, just read this whole story and then don't do anything she did. And that's what a godly wife looks like. When you are in a leadership position, whether you're a boss, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a parent, whether you are the owner of a company, whatever, you still have to show kindness and graciousness to the people who you supervise or who you are leading. Because if you cannot be a kind and gracious leader, no one will want to follow you. So this is a good opportunity right now for people who are in those kinds of upper positions, can really show that, because boy, we all have to have a lot of grace right now. I'm going to read how I wrote this. Instead of only praying for how your husband or boss or whoever can be better, ask God to show you how to be gentle and submissive, and then obey what he says. Don't just stop at, hey, God, show me. And then God says, okay, I think that you should sometimes just zip it. And then you say, yeah, but whatever I have to say, God, is so valuable. Is it? Is it? The problem is that Todd is like 10 feet that way. And so he's probably going, no, it's not. Okay. And then just a couple of quick takeaways. If you think about all of those traits that Jezebel had, the fact that she was so jealous, the fact that she was so prideful, the fact that she was so manipulative, mean, I think those are probably my 4 least favorites. Do you identify with any of those? Do you notice any of those traits in you? Or do you know someone else who does, who has those traits? On pages 257 and 258, there's some really good scripture references that will help with that. Honestly, one of them is one that we talked about yesterday in class, which is 1 Peter 3, 10 to 11, which says, oh, hold on, I'm in the wrong translation. Whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. I mean, we literally just over 24 hours ago, just talked about that very same thing. Let him speak, let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. That's our responsibility. That's our calling as Christians. And then secondly, kind of piggybacking on that first takeaway, if you know a woman like Jezebel, if it's you, work with you. If it's someone else that you see doesn't know the Lord, doesn't want to know the Lord, and they need a heart change, how can you move that forward? And how can we change our hearts toward those women? Basically, it's the fruits of the Spirit. The only reason I know them is because of the song. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and gentleness, forgiveness, and self-control. Those are the those are the ways we have to show them. I have a cousin. I have 3 cousins who I'm very, very close to, and 2 of them are lifelong church members. Not now as adults, but as children, their mother raised them in the church. Their parents, I mean, they were very, very active, and they have strayed very far. And so the other cousin that is a Christian that lives here in Frisco had a crazy day yesterday in the ER with her 10 or 11-year-old with what turns out to be pneumonia. They've tested him for coronavirus, and she came home, and her, was that Leanne? I'm gonna mute it. And then she came home, and her husband was having trouble talking. Hi, Nicole. And her husband was having trouble talking, and it turns out he looked like he was having a stroke. It wasn't a stroke, it was Bell's palsy. So she ended up taking him to the ER, back to the ER. And so she was texting us and just kind of telling us what was happening. And all that was coming from the cousins, the other cousins, was, what the, that kind of business. And I was so frustrated, but I just turned the phone off and I said, okay, Lord, how do I convey what you look like to them? And so I just had to take the emotion out of it and then go back and say, Tracy, I'm going to pass this along to some friends, to my church family, to my Truth Class family, so that they can be praying for you, because this is going to be a lot. Because now she's got 2 kids at home, everybody working at home, a husband sick, one of the kids sick. She's got to work at home. She's homeschooling. So it's going to be a rough couple of weeks, but I just wanted my other two cousins just to see that there is peace in the middle of a huge storm. And I think that's our responsibility when we have friends who don't know him and don't know what it looks like to depend on someone else when chaos hits. And so I would challenge all of you to, if you have a Jezebel in your life, not to just cut her off, but to show her Jesus. Be that Jesus to her, because chances are you're the only one she gets. So, and if it's you, then ask him to change your heart. So, so essentially, I mean, when it's not a discussion, it goes by very fast. But I don't want to have I don't want to have a bully pulpit, and I don't want to be the only one who talks. So I'm gonna unmute everybody, and okay, says everybody is unmuted. Okay, there we go. I think everybody is unmuted now. Okay. Karen muted herself again.
I did?
No, the other Karen. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Karen Unger.
On mute now.
There
Okay.
she is. Okay, so if y'all can keep the movement and the noise behind you to a minimum. If anybody has anything they want to, I mean, whether it be commentary on that or prayer requests, floor is open.
Well, interesting. We just did, there's a few of us that just finished the Kings study, the Lisa TerKeurst Kings. Becky was there, and Leanne and some others may have done it earlier, but
Yeah.
one of the things that we studied, and I'm just going to read a verse out of Kings. It's 1 Kings 21:25, and it kind of sums it up. It says, there was never a man like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, urged on by Jezebel, his wife. He betrayed in the vilest manner by going after idols like Amorites the Lord drove out before Israel. So when we studied about him, it was interesting. You know, he was the king of Israel. He was in the northern kingdom. So the piece that we talked about in that 1 week was really about they served themselves. And when you look at is it called Asherah poles? I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But basically, she goes on to talk about, you know, the sexual violence and how we have sex trafficking now and pornography and all these things that when these kings did not go in and take down the high places and the idols, this is what happens.
Right.
And I think it's a little bit about where we are today in our world. And I do believe God's trying to get our attention. He can do it any way that he wants. But it's interesting to come out of this study just a few weeks ago that talked about obedience. Obedient patterns tend to produce closeness with God. And those people right now that feel so much fear, and I don't mean if you have clinical anxiety or depression, this just makes it worse, but folks that are just like, oh my God, what's going on? Why is this happening? And just absolute fear who normally don't. I think it's because they feel no closeness with God. Not to say that we're not going to have days of, like last week, I was so off. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I've been working at home for a couple of weeks. I had to self-quarantine. I was that had COVID. So for 2 weeks, I'd be by myself anyway. And I realized there was, my pattern well with my, sleeping and eating and getting up and just weird things like that. But the truth is we all really are influenced by others, and we also influence others. And going back to this is, how are we influencing the world right now? We're acting. I found it interesting that God writes about this king and says he was the vilest of all viles, and behind him was Jezebel, the worst of all women. Absolutely.
She was terrible. She was terrible. Somebody else was going to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to. I just wanted to say out of the whole story, I thought if we all can learn to humble ourselves, that's just so important to receive God's grace.
Preach.
And when Kim was talking about all of those kings and that study we did, we were talking about even when the good kings came around, their problem was always that they refused to take down the high place. So it always fell back to, they were like, okay, God, you're in control, but I'm still going to kind of think about this as my backup plan, and my, they weren't able to fully give themselves over because they held on to those high places. And it can be really hard in this day and age with so many options out there and what we see and what other people are holding on to, for us to cling on to those as well. But we have to remember that God is the one that's in control.
That was pretty cool. Every single time it went back to, like, maybe starting out, every single time was the high place. So I always think, what high places do I have in my life? Because when I look at, had that high place right there, no matter what it was, that I stepped in that little pit, one little toe in, pull me down pretty fast. I think that was interesting.
Good stuff, y'all. Anybody else?
Y'all are quiet.
No. Unusually.
I've got a situation at work that there's this one lady. Oh, she wears me thin. And, like, every other word is a cuss word, and I am like her new best friend. And I don't think I like being her new best friend, but I've looked at this, and our boss actually had me go with her on a couple of appointments and then write a report because he was trying to fire her. And my report, surprising to me as well as surprising to him, was actually a good report. And because her customers love her. And so, I felt like I was like, well, I kind of got an opportunity to help her go out the door, but God said, no, you got to write this honestly. And I did, and she's still here. So every day she calls me. Every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And so I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, just insert as much. Like, I had to teach her how to get on Zoom today, and she's 70, and so I was teaching her through the phone of how to do these steps, and she was getting frustrated and cussing more, and I said, well, Carol, my church did this for the last 2 weeks. So every time I can get a chance to say something about going to church, I throw it in there, hoping that maybe she'll get the picture.
That's great.
She hasn't gotten a hit yet, but I'm working on her.
All these church ladies can figure this out. Surely she can.
Right?
Hey, y'all, I thought that the verse at the end of the chapter is really relevant for where we are right now. It says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment. Well, that is no problem right now, since I've been at least a week with no makeup, basically wear the most comfortable thing I have. And then it goes on to say, instead, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. And it certainly seems like we're having lots of opportunity to develop those qualities that are of such importance, and certainly to practice them and all this one-on-one time we get with our spouses. And I guess some of you probably have kids at home, but here it's just the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Quality time, right?
So I don't know if you would think that I'm making much progress on the gentle and quiet spirit. I'm trying, but
the other sentence I like is, if we've been given the skills and talents to lead, let it be so with grace and compassion. I love that. And it doesn't matter whether you're leading or just talking to a neighbor or, you know, hollering across the street. If we can show grace and compassion, that should show the world who we are.
Right. Yep.
I just love that.
I completely agree.
Because the next sentence, do you know what it says? We never know when the CEO may show up for the staff meeting. And
Yeah.
we know that's true. He's coming,
Absolutely.
we just don't know when.
I like where it says, right in the last page, 188, even when we are right, does it necessarily make our men wrong?
Oh, wait a minute.
Great.
And if we want warrior poets for husbands, let's treat our men as if they're already toting mighty shields and sharpened quills.
Amen.
I'll remember that.
I like that.
That's a tough one.
It is. It is because that's pride. That's pride.
Right.
And that's just wanting to be what they call it in counseling world, right fighter. Yeah. And
Especially when you've been confined in the same house with them for over a week.
right. Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a challenge. I mean, this will bring out the
best or the worst.
Yeah. I mean, if you are living in a house full of silence, then you're forced right now to deal with what's on your table and what needs to be dealt with.
It's not silence, it's constant noise.
Well, but in some cases, the tension is not fighting and bickering. The tension is silence and
it's none of that.
It's very painful.
Constant talking.
It's very, very painful. So, I mean, Todd and I spent 2 years in complete and utter silence, and it was the worst 2 years ever. So, the fighting, at least when you're still fighting, there's still noise.
Yeah.
No, there's no fighting. No fighting. It's just constant noise. You just love to hear yourself talk.
Sure.
You know, one thing.
You are so quiet.
Yes. Yeah, I never
Becca.
talk.
Yes.
One thing I can remember talking with Tim one time about is, you know, women are so wired differently than men. We have different problems. And one of those being our mouths and gossip, etc. Women talk about what my husband did do today, didn't do, whatever. He says, you know, us guys don't ever talk like that about our wives. And I thought, what? Sure, you know, and I thought, no, they don't. And that's just something a woman really has to deal with and be careful about.
Yes. Yes. Belittling men has become very trendy in our culture, and it makes me sick. I mean, really, it is sickening to me because we are all very fortunate to be blessed with God-loving men, God-fearing men, and how dare we take that gift and treat it like trash in front of other believers. Oh,
Well, and if I can say, you know, when you belittle anybody, but when you belittle your husband, you're really belittling yourself.
Yep.
Because you're one. And it'd be no different if your husband's belittling you to other people. How would you feel about that?
Yes.
Well, you wouldn't stand for that. That would actually hurt you a lot more, probably, than it's hurting him. All it's doing for us is showing really, you know, that we're not being the spiritual wife that we need to be for our husbands. But what I was going to say, I was just going to iterate on that. But what I was going to say is, you know, being sheltered, which I just found out Collin County is sheltered in place, and Dallas County sheltered in place. I'm sure it's going to come to Ellis County and, you know, and all that. But for us, my husband is a people person and I'm a people person. So,
Yeah, we know.
he's 10 times more of a people person, but in business, but not even in business, in life, in church. And that's one of the main things that we're struggling with right now, is not being able to see people and talk to people and hug people and pray with people and shake hands with people. So people are like, oh, you'll see them. I'm like, that's all good. And it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm just telling you, from where we come from, where we stand as a couple, we need that fellowship. And Sundays are a big deal for us to have that. And I don't want the devil to use that in our lives spiritually and break us down, because it's very important to have that. And I'm just noticing in my spirit, I can just feel that yearning and missing everybody. And this is great. Like, I don't know what I would do if we didn't even have it like this. So I was telling a couple of y'all, we should just FaceTime each other sometimes, not just text people, but to actually call them and hear their voice and FaceTime them if they can do it. And that way we can, check on each other a little bit better. So I think that's probably one of our prayer requests, is just that the devil doesn't depress us even more than already what's going on. It's just not being able to see each other at church and then outside. Just with Keith's work, they're about to probably close down him. Right now he can work, but who's to say they're going to let him keep working his construction guys in Dallas. And so just a lot of things going on with that too. So that's kind of one of my prayer requests.
Okay.
I think that's true, Jennifer. I'm on a morning call with the other regional sales directors, and we're from Louisiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. And I was saying, I just kind of wanted to jump in my car and put my windows down and holler hi at all the neighbors and Easter eggs at them. I mean, I'm the same way, and I lead a team of 10, and it's hard because they now have to stay home. Our company's paying us, but we still have to try to, help our patients. And for like me, I'm just like you. This is hard to not be able to put my arms around and hug them, big hugger. And my husband's shoulder, I can't hug him. He's got that shoulder thing going on, y'all. That surgery. But I heard someone, it might have been Priscilla Shire or someone yesterday saying, back like when the Israelites they were complaining they wanted meat, so God gave them meat, and they had meat coming out their nose.
Yeah, it's true.
We have that's with social media, and technology is wonderful, but not everyone is. People aren't face to face anymore, and we're not. I grew up. My parents were all who they hung out with was Sunday school people. I mean, they were always having dinners and doing stuff with their Sunday school friends. I mean, all the time, not every 6 months. A quarter. And so I can't wait to get back, and I'm so excited to be Miss Social now, because I'm going to be planning some socials. Y'all better be coming.
Yeah.
Partying, y'all. We're going to be partying. They put
oh my gosh, we're going to be having a fellowship every 10 minutes.
I'm telling you. I'll train for you. I'm in the same boat. I want to hug.
Yeah.
You can check it.
Okay. I think, does anybody else have anything to add on the, as far as the topic?
I just thought that it was really cool reading this chapter today after having yesterday's Sunday school lesson, because yesterday, whenever Jason was talking about it, I'm probably gonna cry, but when he was talking about reviling, in the chapter 9, where it said not returning evil for evil, reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing, knowing that you're called to this. And that goes along with what Karen was saying about the last chapter about, thinking of our husbands already as the warrior poets, that God sees them in the way that he created them and made them to be. And we need to see them in that same way. And however, I don't feel like that I mouth too much, but I do internally. sometimes I am internally reviling. And God really convicted me about that yesterday. And then having this Jezebel study on top of that was really good for me and good for my heart. Because when God convicts you, it's because you're listening to him. And I'm thankful for that, and thankful that the truth class is doing these things for my heart. So
Thank you, Cynthia. That's a really good point, because it may not just be outwardly nitpicking and fussing and complaining and criticizing. It may be a bitterness or frustration internally that we're going, oh, if he does that one more time, that the problem is you at that point.
exactly.
Yeah, the problem is not the other person. The problem is you, and you have a hardened heart. So
right.
Thank you for calling that. And also, I know not every single person on here is married. Please understand, when we talk about this, we also mean your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your parents, especially if you have aging parents. It's equally challenging. And, especially if your kids live with you, equally challenging. So I don't want anybody to feel like, well, this topic's all about marriage. No, it's not. This is about relations, about family relations. So I don't want anybody to feel like we're not really sort of broad. It's a broad relational kind of a thing. So